Hello and welcome to today's live dedicated to the September horoscopes. I am a little bit late with starting this live. Please forgive me. It has been a busy morning. So today we're going to talk about September, and September 2026 is a month of really big emotional shifts as Venus is getting ready to station retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, and Mars spends most of the month in the water sign of Cancer. We're likely to encounter a number of roadblocks and obstacles as Mars begins the month squaring Saturn. And generally, September will require a lot of patience and flexibility as you solve problems, get organized, and prioritize yourself. We have a couple of interesting lunations to take a look at and discuss. So, lots to dive in, lots to chew on in today's video. Welcome to the live. If you're watching this live, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching the recording, say hello as well in the comment section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, hype this video, share it, do all the good things that you can to help me grow, to help my channel reach more of an audience. And the biggest announcement for today is that my natal astrology course begins on September 5th, very, very soon. If you sign up today, you will also, if you register for my course today, you will also get a copy of the webinar I did with Rux dedicated to Jupiter and the nodes changing signs, which takes a look at the rest of the astrology of 2026 and also looks at 2027. You can register for my class at the link that is pinned to the top of the comment section. It is a 3 months long course. We'll learn how to read charts. It's a small group, so you get a very intimate take into your chart. You get to learn the basics and go deeper. There's plenty of opportunities to do assignments, to talk to me, to learn about dignity and retrogradation and fixed stars and all of the other important terms. So sign up, join us. We begin very soon and it's going to be so fun. I hope to see some of you guys there. Hi, Julia. Good to see you. Libra rising sister, indeed. Hi, J3LA Soul. Synergias Holistica says feeling nothing more than feelings. Lots of feelings. So visit anastasia.astrology.com to book a reading, to study with me. You can also pick up my candles. My candle of choice for September would be Venus in Libra. Let me see. I have one. This is always my favorite candle, to be honest, because I'm a Libra rising and I have Venus in her fall in Virgo. So if you have Venus in Virgo, Scorpio, or Aries, this is a great choice to boost your confidence, your visibility, and your relationship ease. But we're in September, Venus is in Scorpio. She's getting ready to go retrograde in October into November. So we're going to need a lot of Venusian power. And Julia says she's a Libra Venus. Julia is representing all the powerful Venus in Libra people. It is a beautiful placement, really creative, really good at creating harmony and ease. So if you were born with it, that is amazing. But if you'd like to get a little bit of that beauty and charm and shiny energy, you can get the products I created when Venus was in Libra. And she is in Libra right now, but only until September 10th. And then she enters Scorpio. She will return to Libra later, but as retrograde. Okay, J3LA Soul says Libra Sun, Moon, and Rising, but with a Scorpio Venus. See, that's a unique twist. Scorpio Venus will be like Libra is all like, la la la, everything is beautiful, we all get along, but Scorpio Venus will be like, but I remember what you said a year ago, but I don't know if I trust you fully. I act like everything is like chill and easy, but Scorpio Venus has a very martial flavor, which, you know, if Scorpio Venus loves you, you are one of the luckiest out there because you guys don't love half-heartedly. So all of these things are the things that we talk about in my natal class. We go so deep. We talk about all of these placements. We discuss why they're more challenged, how you can work with them. and how you can live life that is more aware. Astrology has been so eye-opening for me, and my mission is to help you guys discover things about yourself that you just need to fine-tune a little bit and love a little bit more. Trish W333 says Cancer Sun and Moon Libra rising. Awesome. Okay, so let us take a look at September. It is going to be a pretty long live, so obviously if you can stick around for a long time, I would appreciate that, but no worries if you have to pop in and out, because we're looking at the horoscopes for September, and that always takes that always is like a serious long thing. I'm also going to start a goal on this live. Let's do 10 super chats. Support me if you can by pressing that bullseye. And if you feel like things I say resonate, great. Okay. As I mentioned, I have started a little bit later than I intended. So, so it's going to take me a second to catch up to everything we're doing today. But if you're joining and you haven't mentioned your rising sign, where you're watching from, that is always welcome. And I'd always appreciate you telling me where you're joining, where you're watching from. So we're coming into September fresh from the eclipse season. August brought the first solar eclipse in Leo. It brought the last lunar eclipse in Pisces. It could have introduced the depth of feeling, maybe a sense that you were out of control most of the time, because eclipse season tends to bring things to your doorstep without giving you a lot of agency. A lot of times things that happen during the eclipse season happen to you or happen as a result of your past actions. So when we come into September, we're kind of unraveling a lot of it, right? Like we are in Virgo season. Virgo season generally is pretty good for getting organized and taking care of your body. It's like, the storm has passed of the eclipse season, the party has ended, and Virgo season is here to help you clarify and take care of things. So the way this video is gonna work is I'll break down the most important events of September. Just, take notes, keep track of what's happening, the most important dates, good dates, challenging dates, circle them in your notebook or on your calendar. And then we'll start going into horoscopes and talking about some of the most important aspects for all 12 rising signs. So that will be probably 20, 30 minutes after in 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so September begins with, in my opinion, the most frustrating aspect of the month, and that is Mars squaring Saturn. I might change my mind as we keep going through these, but I think Mars square Saturn is pretty frustrating and definitely the one to watch for. It's exact on September 1st, but it begins to build starting 5 days before, 5 days after. So you may start to feel it from like even today, as I'm filming this, August 26th, August 27th, and then it might last into September 6th or 7th, potentially. Mars square Saturn. If you were born with Mars square Saturn, I was born with Mars square Saturn really tightly, or if you have Mars conjunct Saturn, Mars opposite Saturn, then this aspect might be actually quite productive for you. But if you don't have an aspect like this in your chart, Mars square Saturn can bring obstacles, delays, roadblocks. Mars is the gas pedal, Saturn is the brakes pedal. So when both get pressed at the same time, there's a lot of stress and a lot of tension internally, but very little movement. So you're maybe dealing with other people creating tensions in your life. You're maybe dealing with outward obstacles, delays, rejection, inhibition of your goals and frustrations. The best approach is not to push harder, because you're more likely to get into an accident, break a bone or something with this aspect. It's just a tricky one. Of course, most people will be fine, but just something to keep in mind, but that it's best to move slowly in the next 10 days or so, starting here in late August. And the best approach is to sort of take a step back and figure out how to overcome the obstacles. What I like that's happening at the same time here is the fact that Mercury is sextiling Mars. So your analytical mind, your critical thinking, and even your ability to communicate about things that frustrate you can lend you a helping hand. So, talk it out, express your feelings. Don't let frustration just build. If we move forward, we actually have so this Mars square Saturn impacts the first 10 days of September. And so the beginning of the month definitely can be tricky and irritating. Then we have to travel all the way to September 10th to get our next important transits of the month. And we got a few all in a row. First of all, Venus enters Scorpio. So Venus will be in Scorpio between September 10th and October 25th. This is Venus in the sign of Mars. So she colors, your relationships with more passion, with more sort of, like intensity. You don't want anything superficial. You want these like body and soul connections with others. However, Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio. So it's harder to relax in the land of death and rebirth, right? Scorpio is the sign that's deeply aware that things end and things come to a close. Scorpio in the northern hemisphere comes in the middle of the fall season. So when leaves die and fall on the ground and turn into mulch, right, and sort of disappear. So Venus in Scorpio has this sort of sometimes there's trust issues. Sometimes there is tendency to like worry about endings too much, and it's quite different from Venus in Libra, which we had in August and early September. Venus in Libra sort of has this knowledge that everything's going to be okay. She has her, she has like a strong sense of self-worth and self-love. And again, Venus will be in Scorpio for a while. She stays here until October 25th, goes retrograde on October 3rd, and will be retrograde for 6 weeks until November 13th. So highly recommend picking up any of my Venus remedies. You can find them at anastasia.astrology.com, because especially as Venus begins her retrograde, there may be a lack of confidence. There may be more issues coming up in relationships. All of this is, of course, Venus and Scorpio will make you face things that you need to face. It's all for a reason. It's all going to strengthen connections that are meant to last, but can also bring a number of challenges. As Venus is entering Scorpio on the 10th, Mercury is also entering Libra, where it will stay until September 30. Mercury here is ruled by Venus. So Mercury should help us communicate about our deep desires, about our fears, about our trust issues, about even deep emotions that we're feeling in the charming, charismatic way. Mercury in Libra is very diplomatic, very friendly, very good at writing and speaking. And so it's supportive for sure. And like I said, it's here for about 20 days from September 10th until September 30. Uranus also goes retrograde on the 10th. It's a busy day, September 10th, just everything happening at once. Uranus will be retrograde until February 8th, traveling backwards from 5 degrees 41 minutes of Gemini to 1 degree 40 minutes of Gemini, which means if you have planets between 1 and 6 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, this is the one to watch, because then Uranus will be aspecting your planets, your angles, and as it retrogrades, it can bring up questions around individuality and what is your authentic self-expression. It's a really big theme this year with Jupiter in Leo, Uranus being in Gemini. It's definitely going to ask you, like, where are you afraid of change, right? And where are you maybe merging with the crowd or worrying about the opinions of others too much instead of just embracing excitement and curiosity and play. We also have our first lunation of the month on September 10th. It's a 4-day event. Powerful transit. Hi, Asia Dyers. Jay says Venus return. Happy Venus return. You're getting Venus to stay in your sign for a really long time. Just a quick reminder, if you register for my natal astrology course today, you get a bonus of the webinar I did with Rox dedicated to Jupiter and the North and South Node changing signs, which impacts the astrology of 2026, 2027. So come study with us and get extra insight into the astrology to come. And also, if you find that what I'm saying is resonating, press that bullseye and become one of my supporters during this live. So the new moon in Virgo is a new beginning in the Virgo section of your chart. Virgo sector can also bring new beginnings when it comes to work, when it comes to your habits, your daily routine, and your health. So a lot will depend on which house in your chart it is happening at, but it's also very much like the time to get organized, the time to create structure and purify certain portions of your life. Next, we're going to move to September 12th. On the 12th, Mercury trines Pluto. I like this for passionate speech, increased intuition, really urge to do therapy, to communicate about something intense and important. There's also a Mercury-Neptune opposition on the same day. So your ability to perceive things that are hidden and invisible, both with aspect to Pluto and Neptune, is highlighted. And it could be not the best time for kind of keeping track of the details, but the veil between the visible and invisible can be more thin around the 12th, 2 days before, 2 days after, as Mercury is making this aspect. On the 13th, Mercury is going to trine Uranus, and that is electric, quick thinking. You may experience breakthroughs in communication, inventiveness, new ideas. Mercury at this point is fully in a grand air trine creating grand air trine between Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And so that is powerful in terms of ideas flowing, exciting news, flashes of insight. Gotta like that. September 14th, we have this kind of more like gentle, quiet aspect as the sun sextiles Mars. Can give you a boost of energy, courage, and pioneering spirit to take action and go in the direction of your goals. September 15th, how exciting. Venus is going to square Pluto right on my birthday. Woohoo! Venus square Pluto. You take the good with the bad. So Venus square Pluto can intensify power struggles in relationships. It can also intensify passion in relationships, right? So a lot will depend on how honest you are in your romantic, business, creative partnership, because Venus square Pluto will reveal what is not working and can lead to like drama and power struggles, ultimatums, breakdown of an unhealthy relationship. Again, if relationship is strong and it's built on solid foundations, there is maybe something that needs to be addressed, like fears, insecurities, jealousy. Something hidden can come up and become visible during this aspect. And this is 3 days before, 3 days after. Neptune also makes a connection with Pluto at the same time, which I think is just the energy that carries over from July and August, from that basket that everybody was talking about. Neptune in a sextile to Pluto is another one of those of like spiritual thinking, creativity, inspiration, uniting with desire for social change. So it could be the sign of times we live in, where many people are ready for the world to change and for major improvements to take place, but can also give you an opportunity to connect your like intense passion with your spiritual calling and maybe make a subtle change, like come up and study astrology with me, or make like a subtle change in terms of like choosing yourself, choosing spiritual passions, or maybe you get involved with some kind of charity organization and get involved with a collective in a unique way. Okay, on September 17th, Chiron is returning. So it's September 17th, but I'm just going to fast forward it to the 18th. Chiron is returning to Aries for one last hurrah, and will stay there until April 14th, 2027. Really important for people who have planets in the last 5 degrees of cardinal signs. So let's say 25, 29, Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. You may have some unfinished business left by Chiron in Aries. On the 18th of September, Mercury opposes Saturn, can suggest having to deal with obstacles, make difficult decisions, roadblocks, delays in communication. Not the best time to send an important message. It would be best to kind of, again, every time Saturn is involved, we had Mars square Saturn early in the month. Now Mercury opposes Saturn. So there may be a similar issue that you faced in early September that you're now getting to sit down with and weigh pros and cons. So it could be like the moment you're dealing with some kind of red light, right? The cosmic red light where you have to rethink things. But the good news is right after that, Mercury goes on September 21st to now sextile Jupiter. So the answers may come, just patience will be required of you around September 18th, 2 days before, 2 days after. On the 22nd of the month, the sun enters Libra. There it is. Okay. The sun enters Libra on the 22nd of September. Will stay here until October 23rd. Libra is the sign of relationships and harmony, and it's the sign of the other. So your goals get tied to relationships, partnerships. You become more interested in getting along. Now, of course, the sun in Libra is ruled by Venus and Scorpio. So this desire for harmony will have to deal with Venusian desire for intensity and truth and depth. So hopefully the two can work together to face challenges, but do so in like a peaceful and harmonious way as much as possible. The sun will oppose Neptune shortly after on the 23rd, 25th of the month. There we go. The two are opposite one another. 2 days before, 3 days before, 3 days after. Sun opposite Neptune later in the month can be a sign of low energy, low vitality. So health issues, immune system issues. Do your best to take good care of your health at the end of the month. Get a bunch of vitamin C, get yourself ready, because your immunity might be weakened around this time. You're also more likely to become like a victim of charlatans, people trying to get you to sign up for something that you shouldn't sign up. Just make sure to read the fine print and save big decisions for later. Do not rush to make big decisions. So at this point, as the sun enters Libra, it begins to repeat aspects Mercury has made earlier in the month. And so the sun opposed Neptune. Now the sun is going to trine Pluto. On the 26th of the month, there is the sun trining Pluto. And after you faced an obstacle in the ship of Neptune, you face some kind of confusion on the 25th. The 26th can offer you opportunities to make gentle transformations in your life. You know what else this makes me think of? This makes me think of your ideal of a relationship. your ideal of a partnership, your ideal of a union, like with your, maybe it's your hairdresser, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your significant other. And so in late September, as the sun first faces Neptune, you may be realizing that there's been some idealization, some rose-colored glasses going on, and they fall. And then the sun trines Pluto on the 26th, and you realize whether you need to walk away from a certain situation or there is something that you just need to examine and reshape. Because idealizing things and people is quite common. The question is, like, what do you do when you realize that some of the things you've imagined are not accurate? And amidst it all, on the 26th of September, we get our second lunation, which is the full moon in Aries. The full moon in Aries calls back to the new moon in Aries on April 17th, 2026, and really says that before you build a happy partnership or before you feel at ease in an existing relationship, you really need to go and look at yourself. You need to choose yourself. You need to prioritize what's important to you. You need to set some boundaries in place. The moon is not super happy here because it's kind of caught between the rock and the hard place. I mean, there are some sextiles to Uranus and sextiles to Pluto, but she's hanging out, like, the moon is hanging out with Neptune and Saturn. Neptune is like, everything is magical, and Saturn is like, everything sucks. And the moon is like, which way do we go? I don't know. So there is for sure a need to set boundaries and get clear on what matters to you, as we are so focused on others. The full moon always arrives and encourages you to hold tension between your goals and what other people expect of you potentially. So there is an interesting energy later in the month. A lot of tension between, like, personal and relational. On the 27th of the month, and if you find value in what I am saying, click on that bullseye and support my goal. My goal is to get 10 supporters today as I am live. You can donate as little as $5, $10, however much you are able to do. I am thankful. And don't forget that if you sign up for my course today, you also get a free bonus recording of the webinar about the astrology of 2026-2027, Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. You can see the link pinned to the top of the chat, I believe. Let me know if you can't see it, but it's on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. So by the time we get to September 27th, we are looking at Mars changing signs and entering Leo. This is a positive shift because Mars is leaving the sign of its fall, where it has been throughout August and most of September. Mars in Leo wants to do things in a bold and visible way. So you may notice that whatever you do, even if it's like picking up your kid from school or taking on a new project at work, you seek visibility, you seek grandeur, you're dressing up more, you're like maybe even becoming louder on some level. There's a desire for recognition. There's also a flair and style, confidence that comes with Mars in Leo. Mars is here until November 25th. Mars is also beginning to slow down. It is going to go retrograde later in early 2027 and will travel Virgo into Leo. So Mars spends a long time in Virgo and Leo the next few months, which always tends to happen when Mars goes retrograde. And if you have Virgo, early Virgo and late Leo planets, I would even extend it to say as like early Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, late Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius. This will be a big period for you. And also if you are an Aries or Scorpio rising, because then Mars is your chart ruler. It's about to go retrograde. That's a big deal. Okay, a couple more important things here in September before we start going through horoscopes. Actually, still 28th. So, forgive me. On September 28th, the Sun trines Uranus. This is interesting. Mars is in Leo, wants visibility. It's ruled by the Sun. Sun trines Uranus. There's maybe opportunities to do something fun to create excitement in your life. There is a sense of the more unique you are, the better things are. The more supported you are, the more opportunities present themselves. So like, let your quirky side shine, and then you'll get exciting and positive opportunities. And then the very last transit of the month is Mercury joining Venus in Scorpio. So on September 30th, Mercury enters Scorpio, where it will stay until December 6th, a long time, because of course, Mercury is getting ready to retrograde in Scorpio together with Venus. They're going to be retrograde together the whole time pretty much. So Mercury goes retrograde on October 24th and goes direct on November 13th, which is the same day Venus goes direct. So Mercury and Venus will be double retrograde, because why have one if you can have two? So Mercury in Scorpio is a similar vibe to Venus, where Venus represents relationships, Mercury represents communication. So when Mercury is in Scorpio, we really seek to express ourselves with passion. We don't want to have small talk. We want to talk about important things. We want our words to ignite feelings in people. And so it's very much an interesting energy that we're going to be experiencing for the next couple of months. Okay, so this is it as far as the general breakdown. Let me make sure I have my timestamps ready for when we begin looking at the rising signs. Let me know your rising sign if you haven't yet. Remember to register for my natal astrology course. It begins on September 5th, really soon. And if you register today, you will get a copy of the webinar that I did with Rux, dedicated to Jupiter and the nodes changing signs, and the astrology of 2026, 2027 as a gift. So sign up and join. It's a small group. It's an intimate class, and you get a lot of personalized attention. We basically look at, each other's charts throughout class, and you get to learn get to discover things about yourself you never knew. Lady Thistle says, I'm an Aries rising. Okay, awesome. So we have a couple of Libra risings for sure. We have, a few Libra risings. My Libra rising siblings are here. Okay, so let us as I'm going through the horoscopes, if you have anything to share, if you feel like you're resonating with what I'm saying, leave a comment. It's always fun, I think, for everyone who's watching to see how this is playing out in your life. It's the best way to learn, to see how people are experiencing certain transits. And if what I'm saying is resonating, press that bullseye, show your support. And you can also press the like, that doesn't cost anything. And keep this live sort of, showing up in people's feeds, so it gets the attention it deserves. I would really appreciate that. So we're going to start with Aries rising. August brought a lot of action to your 5th house during Leo season. You may have dated more. You maybe felt more creative. You maybe felt a strong desire to pursue projects that are fun and exciting. And there could have, for some of you, could have been a lot of focus on play and childlike wonder, as maybe Jupiter and the solar eclipse encouraged you to like create, but also children, being a parent, spending time with children, whether it's your inner child or you are just, thinking of being a parent. Your romantic sector has been quite active with the eclipse and Leo season and Venus in your 7th house. So maybe you've experienced more ease in dating. And then, of course, later in the month, we had the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, which could have highlighted your mental health, a need to still heal something, a need to release something and transform your mental health. So in September, Mars, your chart ruler, is still in Cancer until September 27th. So most of the month, your chart ruler is in the 4th house. It gives you the energy to take care of home projects. You're maybe actively rethinking your living situation, taking on, like remodeling, redesigning, redecorating. You're maybe spending more time with family and feeling quite sort of empowered to take action within your home and even take action to create more comfort and security in your life, whatever that means. For some people, it could even be about embracing meditation and making meditation part of your daily routine. Because Mars is in its fall in Cancer, there is a danger of being passive aggressive, friction, especially early in the month as Mars squares Saturn, the first sort of 10 days of the month, we can say. You're maybe realizing that there is some tension between your responsibility to yourself and what's happening with the family. You're maybe struggling to find a sense of support between you and them, and having to navigate some difficult dynamics. Even honestly, even like realizing how your childhood has impacted you and still affects you, because with Saturn in the first, there may be certain like even certain like fearful attitude that you have, or certain like negative tendencies that you have that are blocking you from growing. And the negative tendencies sometimes can be connected again to what you inherited from your family, or to maybe even family restricting you somehow. So having to set better boundaries, having to address, have important conversations is all important here. And early in the month, you may feel especially restricted with this Mars-Saturn square. Take it slow. Don't expect quick answers, and practice patience. On the 10th of the month, so actually not even on the 10th, but like throughout the whole month, well, not the whole month, until September 22nd, right? We have the sun in Virgo, and on the 10th, there is a new moon in Virgo, which also suggests that your mind is quite focused on health and self-care, and you're maybe making doctor's appointments. You're maybe more focused on your diet and trying to exercise more. So the new moon here on the 10th is a sign of new beginnings in your professional life, in your habits, health, your routines. There could even be new beginnings in the lives of your pets. If you have a pet, sometimes new moon in the 6th could be a sign of getting a pet having a baby, right? Like if you're the work, health, and service. The ruler of this new moon is Mars 7th. So there is an interesting sense that you're working on bettering your health and work situation so that you have better partnerships and better relationships. There might also be a sense that in order to have better relationships, you have to delegate and clarify and get some help with your pets, with your work, with your health. So having to have important conversations is very much seen through this. On August 10th as well, September 10th, I'm like, what month are we in? On September 10th, Venus is Scorpio, your 8th house, where she will stay all the way until October 25th, beginning her retrograde on October 3rd. I highly recommend Venus and Libra products as a remedy for the upcoming retrograde because it tends to stir a lot of insecurities and relationship challenges. But for now, in September, Venus is direct and she's traveling through your 10th house. No, 8th house. I'm like, month dates all mushed in my head. So she's traveling through your 8th house. Venus in the 8th can suggest that you are seeking relationships that are passionate, that are deep, that are soul merging and transformative. It can also be a bit of a challenging transit because Venus in the 8th can suggest that you're seeking intensity, but you're not always aware of your own tendency to maybe stir drama. So there may be a higher risk of you being a little bit like passive aggressive or like needy and not communicating openly and honestly. So do your best to express yourself and like speak up. The good news is on the same day, on September 10th, Mercury will also enter Libra, where it will stay for the rest of September, helping you communicate diplomatically with more diplomacy and charm and tact. So Venus in the 8th can also be actually quite good for partnerships with other people, for creative collaborations, for spiritual growth, for healing. She can help you address like power imbalances, the lack of fairness in relationships. And later in the month, after 30th of September, Mercury is also going to join Venus. So there will be opportunity to talk everything out on. But yeah, Venus will be here for a while, from all the way into like November, when she is retrograding from your 8th into your 7th houses. So there's definitely a sense that something that involves money, that involves sex, that involves intimacy, that involves sharing and fairness, all of that will need to be reviewed and discussed in order to have healthy relationships. Okay, on the 26th of September, we're going to have the full moon in Aries in your 1st house. And that will be an interesting time when you're maybe wrapping up some projects that got started in April. It can also be the time in which you're really focused on your health, your wellness, and your well-being. And so the end of the month can encourage you to investigate your health and invest in yourself, especially if you've been feeling like you've been too focused on relationships and partnerships and other people. There will be an opportunity later in the month to recalibrate and get things like adjusted a little bit. And then final shift of the month that is worth mentioning is Mars entering Leo on September 27th to stay here until November 25th. Mars entering Leo joins Jupiter in your 5th house, gives you're kind of coming out of this strong focus on like home and family and inner work and going into, I have arrived, I am big, I am bold, I am proud, look at me go. So Mars in Leo will give you more dramatic flair, more charm, more ability to create, and kind of, like ability to be unapologetically yourself. And this is the fact that it's your chart ruler coming out of the sign of its fall, where it has been for a while, maybe making you more emotional and moody, is very much a positive sign. So this is my take on the Aries rising September breakdown. If it resonated with you, let me know. If you're watching live, you can support me by pressing that bullseye and becoming one of the 10 supporters of this live. The most important thing, join my class. We begin in September. And if you register today during this, during the day of this live, August 26th, you can also get copy of the webinar I did with Rox dedicated to the astrology of 2026, 2027. Okay. If you are a Taurus rising, August brought a lot of attention to your house of home and family. There could have been new beginnings here with the solar eclipse in Leo, maybe even a new family member or a family member passing away. Maybe you moved, maybe you changed your living situation. We also had the final lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 11th house later in the month, which could have brought transformations, endings, and culmination of certain friendships, dreams, and change to your social life and your social network. Venus in Libra brought some positive professional experiences. And later in the month, Virgo season encouraged you to play, to learn, to have more fun, but do so in like a practical and structured way. And of course, Mars has been in Cancer, encouraging you to deal with some irritation and frustration, especially if it came from siblings and neighbors, and communicate in a way that was like not passive aggressive, which could have been a bit of a challenge for all of us with Mars being in Cancer pretty much the entirety of August. So in September, Mars is still in Cancer, your third house, until September 27th. So you're continuing to navigate both a desire for action. Mars in the third house can help you connect with your community. Maybe you feel driven to write or blog or teach, study. If you do feel driven to study, my natal astrology course begins in September. Come join us and learn things about yourself you never knew. Fall in love with yourself. So there may be, on the positive, a lot of drive to communicate and like express yourself, but on the negative, more irritability, uneven energy levels, maybe some passive aggression with siblings and neighbors. I, of course, have a remedy for Mars in its fall, and my Mars in Scorpio products are great for this. But being patient, doing your best at speaking up when things are bothering you instead of letting things build is the best approach. The first 10 days of the month are colored by Mars-Saturn square. And there may be a sense that like a desire to go on a short trip or a desire to start a blog, some kind of action that you want to take is restricted and blocked by matters outside of your control. This is not a forever no, but there is a sense that you will sort of need to slow down and watch out, especially because Mars in the third house, you can have a tendency to drive too fast, to want to like push through frustration, to get places even though things are not working out, and there's a higher risk of burnout, accidents, and sort of injuries even. So be very mindful and move very slowly in the beginning of September. Virgo season is highlighting your fifth house until September 22nd. There's a lot of action in your sector of pleasure and romance. Venus is in your seventh house of relationships, starting September 10th and all the way into late October. So it's an interesting time if you're single to put yourself out there. You are more likely to attract people who are brooding and mysterious and charming, but like, think of Darcy and characters from Pride and Prejudice. But there are opportunities here for new romance. There are opportunities here for pregnancy, for new beginnings in love and relationships, even for birth of a creative project, especially around September 10th when we get the new moon in Virgo in your fifth house of romance, pleasure, and creativity. You may feel more sort of inspired and charming and attractive. The ruler is Mercury in the 6th. So there's kind of like this interesting new beginning that also has like practical undertones to it, as you are birthing forward a child, a new idea, a new relationship. With Mercury in the 6th, you're definitely being pragmatic, and you're thinking about details that need to be taken care of. Mercury is in Libra most of the month, from September 10th until September 30. The sun comes here in late September, and Venus is also here in early in the month. So your 6th house is quite active throughout September, helping you get organized, helping you it's a good month to make doctor's appointments, to tie any loose ends, pay any bills, take care of any problems that you have outstanding. You may naturally feel inclined to eat a little bit better and exercise a little bit more, but because it's in Libra, you would prefer exercising or taking care of problems with others. So that may be even where you potentially maybe you meet someone while running errands or while taking a workout class. Could be. So as mentioned, Venus is in your 7th house of relationships, and it suggests that you're really focused on creating peace and harmony in your relationships. However, Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, and you have to beware of the tendency to be kind of like watch out for the tendency, don't let your fears ruin your relationships, because when Venus is in Scorpio, there may be a tendency to be too protective of yourself and hide yourself and not show your true feelings to other people. And by doing that, you're maybe a lot of times sabotaging yourself and actually, hiding parts that other person would welcome and cherish. So try your best to trust your intuition with who you are letting in, but then once you let them in, perhaps be vulnerable, right? Don't be afraid of being vulnerable. Okay, we have the full moon in Aries, your 12th house, on September 26th. It brings back the themes from mid-April 2026, when we had a new moon in Aries, and suggests the need to retreat, withdraw, and prioritize your mental health, because Libra season, Mercury in Libra, there is maybe a danger of being pulled into many directions and really focusing on the needs of your colleagues and the needs of people you're taking care of. Maybe it's your child, whoever it might be. And the full moon in Aries in the end of the month is an opportunity to kind of settle in, take care of yourself, maybe take a break, maybe see a therapist, or even have some important conversation if something has been bothering you. But you may experience transformations and endings of something that got started in April, and very much an opportunity to speak up and express what is of value to you. Okay, and the final transit that I am going to highlight is Mars entering Leo, your 4th house, on September 27th, and Mars will stay here until November 25th. So Mars is leaving the sign of its fall, which is positive, and it's going into your 4th house. It suggests that you're going to feel more energy to make changes in your home. So it's good for remodeling, redesigning, painting walls, getting new furniture, assembling things, tearing things down. You're also likely to see family more or spend time with family. You're also, on the negative side, are at risk of fighting with family more, because that's always a bit of a side effect of Mars in the 4th house. Watch out for ego issues. I want things my way. It's like my way or the highway. And do your best to be active with the family instead of being combative with your family. So that's my take on Taurus rising for September. Visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to join my natal class. You can get a copy of the webinar if you sign up today. The webinar I did with Rox dedicated to the astrology of 2026, 2027 through the lens of Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. Come study. It's going to be so fun, and you can invest and explore your love for astrology on a new level. Okay, let us keep traveling. If you are a Gemini rising, August brought new beginnings to your third house of communication, skills, hobbies. You may have taken more short trips. You may have discovered new passions, started studying something with the solar eclipse in Leo and Leo season. Mars in the second suggested some financial changes, maybe more emotional spending, maybe some irritability connected to money, or a little bit of like insecurity sometimes Mars in its fall could bring. And then we had Virgo season encouraging you to make home improvements, while Venus in Libra brought some pleasure from romance and dating, and maybe just encourage you to have a little bit more fun. Go dancing, let your hair down, and, have dates on the beach or something fun like that. In September, Mars, the planet of action, is still in Cancer until September 27th. And you are, finances are on your mind for sure. You're maybe going through more of like ups and downs financially. Sometimes Mars here can encourage you to spend more emotionally. So if you're feeling angry, you go buy yourself something. If you're feeling sad, you go buy yourself something. It can both encourage you to make money through more entrepreneurial ways, but it can also lead you down the path of just like throwing money at problems. So watch out for that and look for ways to create better flow in your financial sector. You may be dealing with some conflicts of values early in the month, especially the first, let's say 10 days. It's maybe a little bit broader, the first like 5, 6 for sure, but we can extend it a little bit. As Mars squares Saturn, your desire to spend on something, your desire to do things your way runs into a roadblock represented by an authority figure, a conflict with a friend. Maybe you're planning getaway with friends and you don't agree on the budget of a thing or scope of a thing. And the beginning of the month definitely urges you to go slowly and avoid spending a ton of money because you might regret it. Virgo season is highlighting your fourth house pretty much until most of the month, but strongly until September 22nd, and suggests that there are opportunities to make home improvements, even opportunities to move. Changes in the family are possible, a birth of a child, a niece, nephew being born, a parent going through a transformation, like a parent buys a house in France and you get to go and hang out with your parent in their French house. By the way, if you're resonating with what I'm saying, press that bullseye to become my live supporter. My goal is to get 10 supporters of this live, and you can donate as little as $5 if you feel like my work is helping you find guidance in this world, in this complicated world. So I would really appreciate that. And if you cannot support me financially, press the like on this live. That helps as well. So new moon on September 10th is the highlight of this energy of new beginnings for you Geminis in the 4th house. It could be an empowered time and for sure, changes that are connected to parenthood, changes that are connected to moving in with your significant other, some kind of like romance, play, pleasure impacting your home and family life. Thank you, Romy girl, for sending a Go trophy. Ooh, we got a Go trophy. How exciting. Yeah, if you can support me, I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Romy girl, JQ4RJ. Okay, so home and family is a busy place. Mercury enters Libra. Venus is in Libra until September 10th. Mercury is here from the 10th until the 30th of the month. The sun is here later in the month. So your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood is active all month. It could mean, I have a friend, she has a 7-year-old who begins school this year. So my Gemini rising friend. So there may be a lot of focus this month on your child and them starting school and helping them acclimate. It can also be quite an interesting time to date or go out. You're maybe receiving more invites, more opportunities, more sort of fun events that you can get involved in. And I like this for creative self-expression. There may be a lot of ideas that are circulating through your mind. Venus is entering Scorpio on September 10th, your 6th house. She'll be here for 2 months. We'll go retrograde on October 3rd. I have a remedy I recommend for this, and that is Venus in Libra, because Venus retrograde can be a rather intense and tricky time. You can pick it up at anastasiadoesastrology.com, or you can also register for my natal class that begins in September. You can even get a little bonus if you sign up today, and that is a recording of the webinar I did with Rux about the astrology of 2026, 2027 through the lens of Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. So Venus in your 6th house can suggest that you are making a gynecologist appointment. I'm kidding, but also not really. Venus in the 6th is the time when you're like having to take care of your health, but Venus is the feminine planet. So there could be like health of your feminine parts, let's say. And if you're a man, maybe it's your masculine parts, your reproductive organs sometimes come up. Hi, Bhavana. So Venus in the 6th could be the time of having to take care of your health. You're maybe engaging more with your colleagues. Venus represents where we find joy. So when she's transiting your 6th house for a couple of months, there may be more opportunities to meet up with colleagues, go out, see them more. Even romance can be blooming in your professional life. Maybe you're starting to look at someone differently and you go like, "Ooh, I didn't realize I like you so much." September 15th, 3 days before, 3 days after is a little bit tricky as Venus is squaring Pluto. There could be some debates, disagreements, conflicts. Thank you, Bhavana, for donating to my live. Really appreciate that. For the rest of you, if what I'm saying is resonating, please support me, press that bullseye and help me reach my goal today. Okay, so yeah, so watch out around September 15th. There could be like conflicts, ideological debates, and challenges. We also have the full moon on September 26th in your 11th house in Aries. The full moon in the 11th house can bring changes, transformations, endings, and culmination to the group projects that you got started in April when we had the new moon in Aries. There could be changes to your social dynamics, friendships that need to be addressed, and a need to maybe speak up about something, especially if you've been dealing with some conflicts and disagreements in your friendship. It's sort of a time to clear the air, I think, in your friendships. Uranus will also go retrograde in your first house, which is worth mentioning, especially if your ascendant is between 1 and 6 degrees Gemini. There may be some rethinking of your image, your style, your identity that you're going to experience between September 10th and February 8th as Uranus is retrograde. And the last thing I want to talk about for you Geminis is Mars entering Leo on September 27th, where it will stay until November 25th. It speeds up your mind. It gives you more ideas. It encourages you to be more visible, more confident, more shiny, right? You have a ton of ideas. Keep a notebook next to you. Write them down. You're maybe more prone to driving too fast, so I would urge you to slow it down. Don't go rushing places. There may be a higher risk of accidents, especially if you're careless, but could really give you just that sort of fuel needed to get things done. Thank you so much, Bhavana, for doing the bullseye. Really appreciate that. Bhavana is the first one hitting bullseye. Help me get my goal, you guys. You can donate $5 if you press the bullseye and become one of 10 supporters today. And this is my take on it for Gemini. Let me know how it resonates. Don't forget to register for my natal course. If you do it today, you get a free recording of the webinar dedicated to Jupiter in the nodes, changing signs I did with rocks as a bonus gift. Okay, so Gemini, share your thoughts. Any Cancer risings watching live with us today? That is always fun to see. It's fun to know. Also, can you guys see my screen? Because I was live last time and I thought I was sharing the screen, but then I didn't. I saw the recording and somehow it wasn't there, which was really odd. If you are a Cancer rising, August brought a lot of attention to your sector of money and values, maybe even encouraging you to pay off some debts or release a source of income for a new source of income or for a job that felt more spiritually fulfilling. Mars in the first maybe brought a little bit of irritation to your body, health, skin, but also sped up your life and encouraged you to take action. We had Venus in Libra in your fourth, bringing joy to familial relationships, and the final eclipse in Pisces later in August that brought change and transformation to your ninth house of education, travel, publishing, legal matters. Again, completing some kind of 2-year-long chapter and maybe encouraging you to release things that do not serve you, release beliefs and pursuits that do not do you any good anymore. So in September, Mars is still in Cancer most of the month until September 27th. Until September 27th. So the positive energy of this, you have more courage to stand up for yourself. You have more energy to take action. You're more driven to take personal sort of risks and take on personal projects, especially if it's something that has personal impact or personal influence on you, right? Mars in Cancer is this like mama bear energy. So whatever you feel is your baby, you're more willing to fight for. Maybe it's your literal child. Maybe you find yourself advocating for your child. Early in the month, however, Mars is squaring Saturn, and there is a potential of people in power, people who are older than you, authority figures, even work, creating a lot of obstacles, a lot of tension, a lot of difficulty. And do your best to move slowly, because Mars in the first can be inflammatory to your health, right? So if you get frustrated with something, you like slam your foot into the door accidentally, you may end up breaking a toe or something. So the first 10 days of the month have this like move slowly and don't expect quick results type of energy. And it could be, if you're realizing that your boss is impossible to deal with, maybe it's your sign that you should be looking for a different kind of work for yourself. So Mars is here helping you hopefully take action, but also a higher risk of accidents. It's Mars and it's fall, so you can be a little bit more passive aggressive. Your energy is uneven. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's super low. So try to surf those waves, right? Don't push yourself too hard when you don't have any energy. Virgo season is activating your third house until September 22nd. The sun is here on the 10th. We have a new moon in Virgo. All of this is meant to encourage you to open up your everyday life, to embrace maybe something new. You can be taking on like knitting, or you starting to read books a little bit more, or you're studying astrology with me. I have a Cancer rising student that I already know is a Cancer rising studying. Hi, Alana. Happily ever after, says Alana. Also Portugal for a honeymoon. Portugal, I've always wanted to go to Portugal. Haven't been yet. Alana is referring to my Instagram question when I was asking people for honeymoon suggestions. Thank you, Alana, for the donation and for becoming the second person to press that bullseye today. Only asking for 10, so need 8 more. Thank you, guys. But yes, on Instagram, I asked for honeymoon destination suggestions because we haven't planned that yet. So new moon in the third house on September 10th for Cancer risings, a great time to study something. As mentioned, my natal course begins on September 5th. Sign up, explore your chart, learn things about yourself that will make you love yourself even more, tend to the parts that are vulnerable and need building up within yourself. So astrology can offer you a roadmap of your inner self and your outer life as you realize like your goals and purpose and all the good positive things. So third house, as mentioned, Cancers, you're exploring things, you're changing your everyday life, you're opening your mind and you're opening your schedule to welcome something new. Your fourth house is active. Venus is here until the 10th, then Mercury, then the sun later in the month. And this should be a sign of home being a busy place, especially as the sun comes here in the final 10 days of September, helping you make changes. Maybe you're making some slight home improvements. Maybe you're moving and looking for a better place. Maybe you're spending more time with family. There's a lot of action in this part of your chart. Venus is also entering your 5th house on September 10th. We'll be here for 2 months because she's getting ready to go retrograde. And in the 5th house, so throughout September, Venus in your 5th is actually quite a sexy, passionate placement. If you're single, it could suggest that a new romance is blooming into your life. If you're in a relationship, there may be more passion, more intensity, more sparks that you're feeling. It's also likely to encourage you to go out, to dance, to dress up, to have fun. September 15th is the day to be careful with. 3 days before, 3 days after, as Venus squares Pluto in your 8th. Conflicts, power struggles around money, intimacy, control in relationships can stir things up and stir some drama. The full moon in Aries on September 26th brings change, transformation, and endings to your career sector. That is interesting, right? Like early in the month, you have this irritability and friction that Mars square Saturn represents. And then by the end of the month, with the full moon, you're getting a chance to choose yourself and advocate for yourself and speak up, stand up for yourself. So the new moon in Aries can be the time when you quit a toxic workplace, or you ask for a different sort of responsibility. You're maybe making some kind of changes to have a better work-life balance, because at that point we have the sun in the 4th and you're driven to spend time with family, to connect with loved ones. But then the full moon says that work is demanding a lot of you. And is it worth it, right? Like, is there something that you need to change in terms of have a better work-life balance? And then finally, on September 27th, I'm not really adjusting the chart. I hope you can see the chart, just because it will be too many extra steps to adjust it. But on September 27th, Mars enters Leo, where it will stay until November 25th this year. And Mars in Leo can be positive as an influence that helps you take action, be more entrepreneurial, take risks, make investments. However, it can also be a sign of like recklessness financially, impulsivity, emotional spending. You're more likely to go through periods where you make a lot, you spend a lot, you make a lot, you spend a lot. So try to balance things out a little bit and be thoughtful about what you invest into. And investing in astrology is always a good idea. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com to sign up for my class. If you sign up today, you also get a free copy of the webinar I did with Rox, dedicated to Jupiter in the nodes, changing signs, and how it affects the astrology of 2026-2027. Anastasia.astrology.com is where you can register and see all of my other offerings. For the retrograde, I highly recommend Venus and Libra products. Yeah, do let me know if you can see the screen that I'm sharing, because I am concerned that it's invisible to you guys. For the lovely Leo risings, August has been busy, right? You've had Mars in the 12th house, encouraging spiritual healing and transformation. Thank you so much, Alana, for saying that you can see the screen. There was an eclipse in your first house, which could have brought major new beginnings in terms of your identity, but also an ending and completion of a big personal chapter. Maybe you've realized that in order to become a travel influencer, you had to quit your stable, cushy job. So there could have been this sense of like new beginnings, but a need to mourn and release something in the process. Venus was in Libra most of the month, bringing pleasure from hanging out with siblings, neighbors, encouraging you to write and communicate in a very charming way. And then we had the final lunar eclipse in Pisces in late August, which brought a 2-year-long chapter to a close and changed your sharing in a relationship. Maybe you've transformed some kind of an agreement. You could have also paid off a debt that you've been trying to pay off for a while, and experienced a change that led to more intimacy and new beginnings. A Leo rising friend just got engaged, and so I think that's 8th house can be very much a sign of major relationship developments, because it represents merging energy, time, money with the other person, and marriage definitely can lead to that. If you're resonating with what I'm saying, please press that bullseye and support me live today. I only ask for 10 supporters. We got 2, so become one of the remaining 8. I really appreciate that. So what's ahead in September for you Leos? So Mars is staying in Cancer until the 27th. It is here to help you go through your spiritual attic. 12th house is the place of blind spots. It's the place of mental health. It's the place of spirituality and healing work. And so Mars here can be the, it's like a subtle warrior. Mars is always the warrior, but in the 12th house, it fights in this very sort of like quiet and invisible ways sometimes. Thank you, Alana, for sending 2 jewels. Jewels. So Mars here can be, like I said, you're like, you're healing, you're working through something, you're working in therapy, you're maybe using tarot, astrology, meditation, yoga to help soothe yourself. Beware of the tendency to be too critical, because Mars in the 12th, as I said, it doesn't fight with like visible obstacles, a lot of times you end up fighting with yourself. And it could be a really good transit for getting like really a lot of opportunities to be quiet and to retreat, to take care of yourself, to invest in your mental health. Then we have Virgo season until September 22nd. The sun is in Virgo. There's a new moon here on the 10th of September, activating your second house. You're feeling practical, pragmatic. You're balancing your checkbook. You are paying off any debts, making investments. You're very, you're very organized, Leo risings. And I find that actually to be really true about most Leo risings, that they tend to be quite good with money, because with Virgo being your second house, you tend to be really like on point with things. So the new beginning here, the new moon on the 10th could be an opportunity to maybe ask for a raise, right? Mercury as the ruler in your third house helps you communicate about things. So asking for a raise, making an investment, making some kind of financial decision could be seen with this new moon. And also, there was just an eclipse in your first house, right? Have you discovered something new that you want to explore? And how can you set your finances in order, get your priorities more clear? What kind of practical things you need to do in order to help you get to where you're going? Libra sector is active all month with Venus here until the 10th and Mercury from the 10th until the 30th. And the sun is in Libra from September 22nd. And this is the time in which you are busier. There's more places to go, people to see. You're getting more emails, you're getting more texts, you're on your phone a lot more. You're also more creative, especially until the 10th when Venus is still here. You have more ideas, you feel more inspired. It could be a good time to start a blog or a website, or do a project with a sibling, right? Do some kind of like podcast with a sibling. Thank you, Julianne, for supporting the live today. Yay! Julianne 25 says, long time no see. Hope you're well. Love being able to catch your live for a bit. Thank you so much. We got 3 supporters, 7 to go. Woo! Alana also says, this sounds exactly like my Leo sun life since I'm 46 going on 36 and resonates. You're 46. I feel like I was looking at your pictures on Instagram the other day and I could never tell. I thought you were like 30 something. Okay, so let me focus back on Leo rising. So yeah, like third house activation, really like charming. It's a great time to go out. It's a great time to see your neighbors. You're feeling more inspired to like explore your skills, use your hands a lot more. And then Venus is in your 4th, ruling your 3rd house, right? Transiting your 4th. So you may find yourself decorating things in the home, maybe spending more time with family, again, sort of maybe hanging out with your siblings. Venus is squaring Pluto on the 15th of the month, 3 days before, 3 days after. So watch out for some power struggles, conflicts between family members and your partner, tensions with your partner connected to family. Somehow your relationship energy contradicts your home and family developments in the middle of the month. And I didn't mention that the beginning of the month is also fraught with tension and obstacles as Mars squares Saturn. So it would be best in the beginning of the month to like move slowly and don't expect fast results and quick outcomes. We have the full moon in Aries on September 26th. It completes the chapter started with the new moon in Aries in April. So reflect on that. And changes involve education, travel, legal matters, publishing, ideological transformations and shifts. Maybe you started meditating in April and now you like it so much that you go to a Buddhist temple and you join a Sangha, which is a spiritual community. Maybe you've been dealing with a legal situation and this full moon brings that situation to a change. Maybe you've been thinking about studying astrology with yours truly, and we begin in September. So what a great time to sign up for my class. Do register for my natal astrology course. We begin on September 5th. You can sign up at Anastasia.astrology.com. And if you do it today, you will also get a free copy of the webinar dedicated to Jupiter entering Leo, your sign, and the nodes entering Leo and Aquarius, the astrology of 2026, 2027. So the full moon is interesting and significant and can definitely bring graduation, completion of the course of study, maybe return to school, travel opportunities, and legal publishing changes. And then the last transit that I'm going to highlight for you guys is Mars entering Leo on September 27th to stay until November 25th. Mars entering your first house is a positive shift because it's out of your private sector. If you dealt with any sleep issues in the last couple of months, Mars coming to Leo will bring, it kind of will make the subconscious issues a little bit more conscious, and it will give you courage. It will give you that oomph, that visibility spark. You're more likely to advocate for yourself. You're more likely to shine, to be visible. And it's a great transit for like taking creative action, I think, and stepping into the spotlight and finding ways to shine. Of course, South Node is in Leo as well. So the more you act out of sense of, doing things for some kind of social purpose, the more you focus on making the world a better place, unless you think about the ego and getting applause, the more likely you're going to get really good results. So if you're a Leo, share how this resonates. Visit my website. It's the link should be pinned to the top of the chat, Anastasia.astrology.com. And you can also support me if you're watching it live by pressing the bullseye. We got 3 out of 10. Woohoo! Thank you so much to Alana, Bhavana, and Julianne for being the first 3 supporters. But if you wanted to support me and show that my wisdom resonates with you, press that bullseye and become the next person to support me today. So this is it for Leo rising. Let us keep moving. Any Virgo risings that are here today? Thank you, Alana, for sending sunshine. We can always take more sunshine. Sunshine from a Leo. Leo sending sunshine. So perfect. Okay, so Virgo. I'm just gonna take the timestamp. If you are a Virgo rising, then August could have brought a lot of interesting developments in your, so we had Leo season highlighted your desire for rest. You maybe spent a decent amount in solitude, or you got opportunities to get away, to connect with your spiritual self. There was a solar eclipse, the first solar eclipse in Leo in your 12th house. And maybe you've really invested in therapy, in yoga. Maybe you've decided to study astrology with me and register for my class. If you haven't yet, Anastasia.astrology.com. I'm laying it on very thick, but it begins very soon. So be patient with me. And I'm excited about it. So I'm mentioning it. So, there could have been some kind of investigation of your mental health, your psyche, your spirituality, even opportunities to get away and retreat from the world. Venus was in Libra in August, and it could have brought you financial gifts and bonuses, rewards. The final eclipse in Pisces activated your 7th house and transformed your relationship sector, completing, changing developing chapters that got started as far as maybe 2 years ago when we had the first lunar eclipse in Pisces. So, and Mars was in Cancer in your 11th house, both encouraging you to be active and connect with friends, but also maybe stirring some drama in that portion of your life. This continues. Mars is in Cancer until September 27th. And I'd recommend that you use this energy for good. Use this energy to advocate for something you're passionate about. Mars in Cancer is the mama bear energy. In the 11th, it could be you speaking up for vulnerable, for women, for children, for elderly, people who don't have the voice of their own. And watch out for the dangers of Mars in its fall. Mars in Cancer is more challenged. I actually recommend Mars and Scorpio products that I have that could be a good remedy. But it could be, there could be a tendency to be like passive aggressive, to say things to your friends that are a little pokey, a little dramatic. And I'd recommend that you do your best to communicate openly and honestly and express frustration as it builds, instead of letting it like suppress until you just like scream at your friend in line for a water slide. Why not? So especially early in the month, there could be tension and friction as you disagree with people in power, as you face financial matters, as you realize that maybe, so Mars squares Saturn on September 1st, and it's active 6 days before, 6 days after. And you're maybe dealing with, Mars in the 11th represents your desire to start something. There may be a dream that you have, a desire for action. And then Saturn in the 8th is a debt you need to pay off. A partner has different view on things, some kind of tension, obstacle, challenge that you are dealing with. So early in the month, there's a lot of irritability, frustration, challenges, and do your best to stay patient, do your best to communicate through things. There is, at least we have until September 10th, we have Mercury in Virgo. So it should help you speak up about what's of value to you. Virgo season is activating your first house, and there's a new moon in Virgo on September 10th in your first house. So as you are dealing with some frustrating energies, you're also, the sun in the first house is quite a positive sign for your vitality. So you're more visible, there's more opportunities to step up in the spotlight. There is more energy. There is more opportunities to redefine yourself. And this new moon on the 10th is very much like a personal rebirth. And it could be internal, where you're working on building confidence, and you're maybe like, just quietly saying affirmations to yourself. I am worthy. I am loved. I am accomplished. I attract abundance and success. There can also be physical manifestation of the new moon in the first house, some kind of workout routine, dietary changes, starting to build muscle. There could be like sort of visible transformations. Any answer that comes to your mind to a question of who are you, if you ask yourself, who am I? This is under the umbrella of the first house new moon. Libra season and Venus, Mercury, the sun are in Libra, your second house. So you're maybe investing money, you're maybe paying off debts, you're maybe asking for a raise, rethinking your sources of income for sure. And there may be a little bit of friction as Mercury and later the sun oppose Neptune, oppose Saturn, between what is of value to you and the duties and responsibilities you have to others. Maybe you want to move to Bali, but your mom is in Nebraska and your mom doesn't want to move with you, or your mom really wants you to stay. or you want to buy an apartment in New York, but your partner wants to buy a house in Florida. So there could be a little bit of tension between personal priorities and those of others. And of course, the opportunity here is to talk it out, figure things out. Venus is entering your third house on September 10th. She'll be here until October, late October. She's going to go retrograde on October 3rd. So Venus at this point is very much in her shadow. Whatever she's doing starting on August 31st, she's going to go back over those same degrees. So that is something to keep in mind about September generally, right? Like Venus is going to retrace all of her steps. So the developments that you experience in September, especially in regards to like financial decisions, third house can also represent skills, hobbies, business, scheduling developments, travel, technology you use. As Venus goes retrograde in October, you may need to rethink a lot of that. But for now, in September, Venus gives you an opportunity to communicate with passion and charm. She also encourages you to invest into your dreams, invest into your hobbies, invest into your interests. And in the third house, we're thinking of learning, right? So it could be a great time to, it's a great time to register for my astrology course. It's a great time to study tarot. It's a great time to read books about philosophy, yoga, whatever you're interested in. Whatever kind of makes you feel excited is a good time for that. And if you are ready to take your love for astrology to the next level, visit anastasia.astrology.com. If you sign up today, you'll also get a free webinar dedicated to the astrology of 2026-2027 with your registration for my course. And also, if what I'm saying is resonating, press that bullseye and support me in real time, live today. Zonderson says, when does Virgo rising catch a break in love? Well, the final eclipse is happening on, 28th? In 2 days from now. So you may start noticing some improvements after that. Alana says, my husband is a Libra and from New York. Wait, is your husband in Libra? Because I thought you said his birthday is August 29th. Maybe not. Did I confuse things? You're saying your husband is a Libra and from New York, but we're moving back to Maui eventually. Not as easy as it sounds, but you're spot on. Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you. For some reason, I thought your husband was a Virgo. I don't know, but I feel, yeah. Anyways, let's move on because I'm having a mental confusing moment. So, yeah, September 15th is another top day to highlight as Venus squares Pluto. 3 days before, 3 days after, there could be tension between like issues with colleagues, communication issues, scheduling issues, power struggles. So watch out for that in mid-September. Oh, you meant September 29th. Okay. Yeah, because I think you said August 29th. And because that's why I said that I thought he was a Leo, and then I realized that it's already Virgo, but he's actually a Libra. It's like a matryoshka, multiple levels, Leo, Virgo, but actually Libra. Uranus goes retrograde in Gemini starting September 10th and until February 8th. Especially important for you guys if your ascendant is between 1 and 6 degrees Virgo, or if your midheaven is between 1 and 6 degrees Gemini. There might be a sense that some of the risks, some of the jumps and developments you experience professionally are going to have to go back and be rethought and be revisited. So this is something to think about. And you may also be really wondering, like, what makes you feel excited professionally? And so that could be something that you are rethinking. A couple more things. On September 26th, there is a full moon in Aries, your 8th house. It completes chapters started in April and brings change, transformation, endings to your partner's money. So a partner may be quitting their job or getting an inheritance or getting some kind of experiencing a financial shift. There may also be opportunities to pay off debts, to complete some kind of difficult, burdensome partnerships or, like agreements. Either you are disengaging from a situation because you're choosing yourself, or you're maybe forwarding partnerships and agreements that are good for you and that help you. And then the final transit on September 27th, Mars is going to enter Leo, where it will stay until November 25th. And Mars in the 12th house is generally the time when you are desiring to get away. You're maybe booking a trip, going somewhere far, maybe even on your own because your need for alone time will be stronger. You may also experience a desire to go to a spiritual place, to go like to a yoga school, an ashram, do a silent retreat. It can also be the time when you're working on something in privacy of your home, like an art project or a spiritual project. So there may be some opportunities there to go within. However, it can also suggest that your sleep will be a little bit disturbed and things may be you're more likely to be self-critical, so watch out for that and try to be mindful of it. Exercise, move your body a lot to avoid letting that nervous energy build up. Share how this resonates if you're a Virgo rising. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com to register for my course. It begins in September, or book a reading. You can also support me live by pressing the bullseye and becoming one of the live supporters today. Alana says, I meant September 29th. That's why September was going to be hard for me to start the astrology class with you, but I'm still working on it. Well, I hope it works out, but I understand that having your husband's birthday can contradict that somehow. You should have him study with me too. Make it his like birthday present. Just bring him with you to classes as +1. Be like, we're studying astrology right now. Let's go. Does he do yoga with you and stuff, Alana? Is he supportive of your like therapy interests and yoga interests and all of that stuff? Okay, let's keep going because I do have a bit of a hard out today, and this live is already closing in on 2 hours. We just need to make sure it doesn't go past 3 hours, but we'll see. Okay, can go a little bit past 3 hours, but not too far past. For my beautiful Libra risings, let me know if you're watching. Say hello in the comments. August brought powerful developments in your social sector, culmination of dreams, new beginnings and friendships during Leo season, and the solar eclipse in Leo. Solar eclipse in Leo could have brought an ending of some sorts, an opportunity for an ego death, but out of that, a new beginning that inspired you to shine your light more authentically and more truthfully. Venus was in Libra in your first house, inspiring you, bringing more beauty, bringing more charm, helping you look your best. We also have the final lunar eclipse in Pisces later in the month, which is another sign for endings, professional endings, changes that involve your health, your habits. Maybe also just something got highlighted and cleared within you. Where are you stretching yourself too thin? Where do you need more rest? Where do you need to just like let go of some things, right? As a Libra rising who just got married a few days ago, I have been realizing that it's okay if I sometimes don't have content for you guys 3 times a week, that I can always do a YouTube live to accommodate some of the missing content that I didn't film ahead of time. So I'm being very like, let's just chill. Let's just go with the flow, which is very uncommon for me. And probably it's not going to change me permanently, but I'm definitely feeling like there's a need to just be like a little bit more loose with some of my personal Virgo standards that I have for myself. And then Mars spent most of the month in your 10th house in Cancer, which suggested more professional action, right? There could have been some type of projects you had to handle and take on. There could have been a need to be more assertive, more entrepreneurial. Mars is in it. Mars stays in Cancer until September 27th. So this energy takes us and carries us very much into September. And on the positive, it can help you take risks. It can help you, take that action, go for things, and maybe even express yourself in a bit more of like masculine, business honor, like I'm going to get things done way. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, and there's a risk of energy levels can be uneven. Sometimes you're full of energy, sometimes you're really tired. And if you're working a 9 to 5, 5-day-a-week job, it's not like you can take a nap at any point. But if you can, if you're self-employed and you can allow yourself to ride those energetic waves, it will do you a lot of good. Watch out for being passive aggressive. You're also maybe noticing that you're a lot more emotional when it comes to life generally. Mars also rules your 7th house of relationships and your 2nd house of money. So this unevenness can very much affect your partner, your relationship, or your finances. If you would like some help, Mars and Scorpio products that I have at Anastasia.astrology.com captures Mars and its domicile in your 2nd house of money. So it could be really good for stabilizing Mars in its fall, which is where Mars will be most of September. The beginning of the month is especially tricky as Mars squares Saturn. Your professional desires may run into a roadblock that comes from a disagreement with a partner. Let's say you're starting a partnership with someone and you can't agree on this one thing, and now you need to backtrack and figure out what even a breaker of, how do you deal with disagreements in a partnership. So it can be something that like delay that pushes you back to square one, and now you need to redraft an agreement and rethink certain things. There can also be a sense that Saturn in the 7th represents duties to your romantic relationship, maybe some kind of situation that your partner is going through that is temporarily preventing you from giving full energy to your work. And do share how this resonates. I also have a live goal going. So if it resonates, press that bullseye and show your support. Help me reach my goal of 10 live supporters today. Again, thank you to Alana, Bhavana, and Julianne for being my first supporters today. So Mars is here. Mars could be positive, but definitely something to watch out for. And especially the first 6-7 days of the month, I would warn you against pushing harder. So don't push yourself to the point of exhaustion. The sun is in Virgo until September 22nd, your 12th house. There's a new moon here on September 10th. And you are working on your mental health. You are feeling a little bit more private maybe this month. There are parts of yourself that you are not willing to share with others, maybe with your therapist, could be. And the new moon here is, again, this kind of opportunity to like retreat, tend to yourself, set habits around yoga, meditation, around quiet time, introspective time, start therapy, start doing things that can support you. And in the 12th house, it can also be about doing healing work, because you see people working in healing professions, working in mental institutions, even prisons and hospitals. So if you're one of those people, the new moon here can be quite significant in terms of your professional life. Venus is still in Libra until the 10th. Mercury is in Libra from the 10th until the 30th, and the sun comes in after 22nd. So your first house is busy, busy, busy. Until the 10th, this charm of Libra continues. You are attractive, you're magnetic. If you're looking to date, this could be a good time to put yourself out there. If you're looking to change your style and take some pictures, do a photo session, this can also be a good time. Mercury in the first allows you to communicate about yourself and be really clear about who you are. You may communicate faster, more diplomatically, more charmingly. And the sun from September 22nd is the time when, like, just be ready. You're suddenly going to come out of the sleepy mode and be like, I want to film videos. I want to go on social media. I want to tell people what I think. We also have Venus, your chart ruler, entering Scorpio on September 10th. She will be here until October 25th, and she'll begin her retrograde on October 3rd, traveling from Scorpio into Libra, being retrograde until November 13th. So your chart ruler being in the second house of money and values for 2 months is a big deal. She is making you question how you make and spend money. She could be helpful here because Venus in the second can represent gifts that come your way. The fact that Venus is in her detriment, though, makes me wonder if there is some, like you get a gift, but there's strings attached. There's maybe some doubt that comes with it. There's maybe Venus in the second can also, in terms of that being the house of values, can show you what kind of values you have that are maybe not serving you, right? Like, are you being too sort of controlling with the things that you have? Are you being too afraid of like investing into something so that money will come back to you, right? Like what kind of issues and fears you have that are preventing you from creating abundance in your life? September 15th, I just can't get over the fact that I'm getting Venus square Pluto on my birthday. Why? On September 15th, Venus is squaring Pluto, which can represent power struggles, tensions, some kind of, eruptions of force, especially in partnerships, relationships that are built on flawed foundations. If the relationship is strong, there could be friction that leads to more passion, that leads to deeper understanding. So it's not all difficult. But Venus will be making aspects to Pluto again and again because she is going to go retrograde on October 3rd. And then she'll travel back through Scorpio, square Pluto again, enter Libra, station direct on November 13th, enter Scorpio again, square Pluto again. So it's like a part of a continuous storyline. Highly recommend my Venus in Libra products. I'll be using them a ton. Venus in her domicile could be a really good remedy during the retrograde, as it can bring you some of that more peaceful, easeful, and joyful energy. Check them out at anastasiadoesastrology.com and come study with me as well. Register for my class. We begin in September. So that's something to keep in mind. The full moon in your 7th house happens on September 26th. There's a full moon in Aries. It completes relationship chapters started in April 2026, this April, and can suggest maybe an end to a relationship that is barely surviving. If you know that there is a partnership, an agreement, kind of a contractual relationship, romantic relationship that is, you're just sort of keeping it on ice the whole time, or, you're like pushing it, but it's not meant to last. This full moon could be the time when you're choosing to let it go because you're getting really clear about what you want. And of course, positive transformations are possible as well. This could be the time maybe you've dealt with the friction early in the month and now you're able to move forward with more awareness, more understanding, more compassion. It could be the time the relationship changes because you move in together, you get engaged, you get married, you get pregnant. And it applies not just to romantic relationship, but business. Even your relationship with your nanny can fall under the umbrella of the 7th house. I've seen it in a case of my single mom friend who basically shares the duties of raising her kid with the nanny. So there's opportunities for change here. On September 27th, Mars will enter Leo, where it will stay until November 25th. Mars in the 11th will give you the courage to take that podcast idea and make it official. It will give you the energy to plan group get-togethers with your friends. Can also give you the energy to fight with people on social media. I noticed that when Mars is in my 11th, that's the time when negative people crawl out and start leaving me comments. So I'm just like, that sometimes is the case with Mars in the 11th house, more conflicts on social media, more conflicts with friends. So keep that in mind, be mindful of that. And share your thoughts. Let me know how this resonates. Register for my course, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul. We begin on September 5th, and you will learn so much about yourself. You will fall in love with yourself, and you will discover things that you can keep with you for the rest of your life. It's a very intimate 3-month-long class, and you'll be able to read charts and see deep insights within yourself. If you registered today, you also get a free recording of the webinar I did with Rox on the astrology of 2026-2027 through the lens of Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. Alana says, in terms of the husband studying with her, you're saying, haha, I'd love that. He's very supportive. That's awesome. Zonderson says, I really hope things will get better after this eclipse. For Virgo risings, you're saying there's a Mercury Cazimi coming up. Joao Brass 9694 says, hi, I just hope Taurus love life will improve in September 2026. Taurus risings with Venus entering the 7th, for sure, it could be. Julia says 100% right about Mars and being more entrepreneurial and more assertive, emotional for everything too about life. Yeah, it's been Mars and Cancer is a vibe. It's like, I'm fighting, but I'm also crying. I'm asserting myself, but I don't know how to feel about it. It's a lot. I cried like 3 times during my wedding ceremony. It started with just like walking down the aisle. Like everything was leading to tears. Okay. So let's keep going. If you are a Scorpio rising, August brought powerful developments to your career sector during Leo season and the first solar eclipse in Leo. There could have been a sense of new beginnings, but also opportunities to leave something behind, especially if it didn't serve you and didn't make you feel fulfilled and shiny and authentic. We've had Venus in Libra in your 12th house, and your love life could have been going on behind the closed doors, behind the scenes. There could have been some hidden romance or romantic developments that you kept to yourself. The final Pisces eclipse activated your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children, brought changes here that could have been, 2 years coming, 2 years in the making, because we had the first Pisces eclipse in December 2024. Life. Okay, there was a glitch. Let's hope there is no more glitches. I'm going to back up a little bit. So for Scorpio rising, the eclipse in Pisces could have brought changes involving love, creative projects, and just overall sense of pleasure, maybe a sense of redefining what is of values, what is joyful to you. And Mars, your ruler, spent most of the month in the 9th house. It stays in your 9th house until September 27th. So Mars here can encourage you to open your mind. It really wants you to go on adventures, right? It could be a good transit for literal adventures, as maybe you are planning a trip, you're going on getaways, or it could be more like intellectual adventures. Mars in the 9th could encourage you to sign up for what you're interested in. My natal course begins on September 5th. It is time to register if you do so today. you also get a free copy of the webinar dedicated to the astrology of 2026-2027. So check it out, anastasiadoesastrology.com. But yeah, intellectual adventures, spiritual adventures, physical adventures. And so Mars is here most of the month. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so there's also a higher likelihood of ideological disagreements, passive aggressive tendencies, energetic ups and downs, maybe issues within the family. Mars in Cancer always stirs up family issues. So if you're watching live and you've had family issues in August, let me know. Also, if you're watching live and you're resonating with what I'm saying, press that bullseye, become one of my live supporters, and help me reach my goal today. So yeah, watch out for that because it's your chart ruler. I think it's especially important. And I would highlight September 1st, 5 days before, 5 days after, as Mars squares Saturn. And you realize that your freedom is somehow restricted by the work situation, by your boss, by health situation, by needing to take care of someone or something. Early September definitely has this sense of like roadblocks and tensions. It will pass, but it's not the best time to push through it. Instead, like take a step back and rethink things. Virgo season is here until September 22nd, bringing action to your house of friendships, networks, community, and social media. You're maybe spending more time with friends. You're maybe making new friends. There's a new moon here on September 10th. And it's interesting because the ruler of the new moon is Mercury in Libra. And that to me suggests that there's maybe like friendships come to you, but they could be connected to your spiritual interests with Mercury in the 12th. Like you are joining an astrology group, right? You're hanging out with people who are into tarot, or you're taking a Reiki class and you're befriending people who have similar interests. It is also a good transit for social media projects, right? If you wanted to launch a YouTube channel around the time of the new moon or after, that could be a good time. And like expand your reach somehow, like reach more people. And that may be also what Mars in the 9th wants. Like Mars in the 9th could want to teach, to share, to guide other people. And the new moon in the 11th gives you access to supportive people, to social media platform, and some kind of opportunities to express yourself. Libra season, Venus is in the 12th until September 10th. Mercury is here from the 10th until the 30th. And then Libra season begins on September 22nd. Highlights your 12th house. Suggests that there's also a strong urge that you're feeling to rest, to get away, to retreat, to take care of your mental health. Maybe you're planning, again, Mars in the 9th, Libra season in the 12th. Maybe you're planning a getaway. Could be a good time, especially if you're going away with like one or two people you love in your life, like your family or your partner and your child. That could be a good opportunity here. Like investing in spiritual knowledge, working on something in therapy, realizing your blind spots, creating better habits in your life. Mercury will be opposing Neptune and Saturn. So you're also likely to see the connection between your spiritual life or your spiritual health, mental health, and your physical health. Venus is in Scorpio starting September 10th and will be here until October 20, let me tell you, until October 25th. So Venus in the first house tends to be really beautiful. It's the time when you are your most charming. Others see you and they feel drawn to you, attracted to you. So it could be a good transit for manifesting love and beauty, changing your style, changing your look, cutting your hair, getting things sort of done, some kind of improvements done. There is a bit of friction as Venus squares Pluto on September 15th. And there may be some kind of drama in the home, family, like plumbing issues, foundational issues in the home, secrets coming from home, or family trying to control you and tell you, no, don't get this haircut, or don't color your hair this color or something. So you will need to move through that patiently and carefully. And this is September 15th, like 3 days before, 3 days after. On September 26th, we get the full moon in Aries, your house of work, health, and service, which completes the chapter started in April 2027, when we had the new moon in Aries. And it can bring changes that involve changes in your workplace, quitting one job, starting another job. Maybe you are changing your schedule. You're starting to work from home, or you're becoming a digital nomad and you're just working from a different country altogether. There could be opportunities to wrap up a health issue, maybe get a surgery for something that you've been considering. And like investing into your well-being, because you're realizing that you've been too caught up in worrying and taking care of others, and you really are encouraged around the time of this full moon to step back and take care of yourself. And finally, on September 27th, Mars, your chart ruler, will enter Leo, where it will stay until November 25th. Mars in the 10th is the sign of being more professionally minded, not just professionally minded, but you are taking risks, you are going for things, you are expressing yourself, you're speaking your mind, you're very sort of like assertive, entrepreneurial, direct. When it comes to your career, there's also a risk of having more conflicts with people in power, but as long as you focus on like not letting your ego run wild, you are more likely to get good results. Share how this resonates. If it is resonating with you, press that bullseye to show your support, and support me now live as you're watching this. And if you are interested in learning more, in getting the sort of cheat codes to the universe to be able to use astrology to your advantage, and to fall in love with the parts of yourself that are maybe in need of some light and attention and understanding, register for my natal astrology course. We begin on September 5th. If you sign up today, you also get a free copy of the webinar I did with Rox dedicated to the astrology of 2026-2027 through the lens of Jupiter and the nodes changing signs. You can sign up at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Do we have any Sagittarius risings in the room watching live? If you are a Sagittarius rising, August brought change, transformation, endings to your house of education, travel, philosophy, publishing. We had a solar eclipse here, which could have highlighted a need to let go of an old place of living, or let go of an old philosophical worldview system and embrace something new. Even allowing your ego to die in order to create positive shift. We had Venus in the 11th house, which likely brought happy experiences with friendships, opportunities to connect with others, maybe even new beginnings on social media. The final eclipse in Pisces on August 28th, which as I'm filming it is still coming up, but as you're watching it, maybe it already passed. The final eclipse in Pisces brought change, transformations, and completion of a 2-year-long chapter in your sector of home, family, and living situation. Maybe for some of you, it was about moving and relocating. For others, it could have been maybe like, a family member moved in with you and it was supposed to be 2 months and it ended up being 2 years. Maybe you got a house, you bought a property, and now you finally finished paying it off. Changes in sort of this sector of like home, family, living situation could have been possible. Mars spent most of the month in Cancer, your 8th house, and it continues to stay in Cancer until September 27th. Mars here is good for paying off debts, for like advocating for yourself, maybe figuring out what doesn't feel fair in a relationship, in a financial situation, and taking proactive steps to make things better. Mars here can also be a danger of being passive aggressive. You don't like something, but instead of saying it directly, you say it in a roundabout way, and it just leads to more confusion and hurt feelings. It can also suggest that you're maybe being an emotional spender. It's a risky, and like I said, this continues through September until September 27th. It's not the best transit for making risky moves. Mars in the 8th, I've seen it in a friend's chart, and especially because it's in its fall in the 8th, could be a sign that you're like, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to buy this ticket. And then you realize that you forgot something and the ticket is non-refundable and you can't use it. And you are down a bunch of dollars, a bunch of hundreds of dollars. So it would be better to be sort of discerning and avoid making risky moves, especially the beginning of the month has this potential of being really full of disagreements and irritability and maybe even conflicts of values in your romantic relationship, tensions when it comes to viewing pleasure and parenthood, and even some kind of intimacy issues that you need to move past or address. And if what I'm saying is resonating with you guys, press that bullseye. Help me reach my goal of 10 supporters today. So yeah, the beginning of the month can be flawed with frustrations and tensions, and just move slowly. Be mindful of like not making accusations as well, and not acting recklessly. Virgo season brings development to your 10th house of career, status, and reputation. There's a new moon here on September 10th. With the ruler Mercury in the 11th. You're maybe getting a new job that feels like a job of your dreams. The new job might involve working with a friend or working on social media, working as like a social media manager. There could be a new job can also involve like a large organization that you're working for. Some type of opportunities to improve your work life are likely here. Maybe even opportunities to step into the spotlight, to be more visible, to take some kind of professional risks can be showing up around this time. Your 11th house is busy and active all month. Venus is here until September 10th, then Mercury, then the Sun. And you are likely quite social this month. You're maybe going out and meeting people and maybe even speaking at parties, giving toasts, or going to networking events and expressing yourself. It is a good transit for hanging out, a good month, I think, for hanging out with friends. You will feel a little bit like pulled in a couple of different directions as Mercury and then later in the month, the Sun oppose Neptune and Saturn. Like there's some kind of friction between what you want to do with your friends and in your social life versus what's going on in your romantic life, or maybe you have a young child that you have a duty to, that you need to spend time with. And so having to balance, very Libra word, having to balance your friendships with your responsibilities involving parenthood, love, even creative projects you have is a theme this month. Venus is entering your 12th house on September 10th. Will stay here until late October. Will go retrograde on October 3rd. So this is a powerful transit. It will be easier if you were born at night. If in your chart, if you look at your chart and the sun is in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth houses, then it's likely to be easier. If you were born during the day with the sun above the horizon, in the top portion of the chart, then it might be trickier for you as Venus goes retrograde. I highly recommend my Venus in Libra products because those have Venus in her domicile, direct, not retrograde, really good at creating harmony and ease. Venus in the 12th, it's this long stay of Venus in the 12th, right? It could be good. I think Venus in the 12th transits have a tendency to make us more aware of our self-defeating tendencies. It's the time when you're like, oh, that's why I'm dating people like this. Oh, that's why I'm dealing with this problem because of what happened when I was 5, right? It could be like a very eye-opening transit. It could also bring a new relationship into your life if you're single and you're looking with someone foreign, someone spiritual, someone introverted, but deeply intuitive and passionate. However, 12th house is by nature a complicated place. There is a risk here of attracting people who are not telling you the full truth, or they are telling you, let's hang out, let's only hang out on specific days. Like there may be a risk of dating unavailable people, complicated people, non-committal people, and do your best to communicate, do your best to speak your truth and express yourself. And it will be tricky, especially I think between September 10th and September 27th, when Venus and Mars are both in the signs of the fall and detriment. But there is this powerful opportunity for healing here. And then Venus goes retrograde, and then we'll talk about this all over again. Yeah, I highly recommend Venus in Libra, especially the second one, because I think the second one has Sagittarius on the ascendant. So check out Anastasia.astrology.com. And you can also register for my natal class on there and understand all of this so much better and learn to see yourself and love parts of yourself that you maybe neglect more. So yeah, Venus in the 12th. If you're in a happy relationship, it can also just be a period in which you are more private together, you're getting away together. There's maybe a lot of passion, a lot of things and intimacy that's going on. But I think as Venus goes retrograde, she's definitely gonna reveal some things that you need to address. September 15th is especially complicated here and worth noting as Venus squares Pluto in your 3rd house. There could be power struggles, difficult conversations, obsession, jealousy, and top emotions that are bubbling up to the surface, coming up. Okay, we also have a full moon in Aries on September 26th. It brings change and completes chapters started in April with a new moon in Aries and transformations in your house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children. A relationship wraps up or gets moved to a different level because you realize you're ready to commit to it more fully. A creative project reaches a completion. A child is born. Ta-da! Or maybe, that's what I say when a child is born. Or maybe a child goes through some kind of transformation, starts school, goes through their first heartbreak, or somehow the children become point of focus. Finally, Mars is going to wrap up its stay in the sign of its fall, Cancer, and enter Leo on September 27th, where it will stay until November 25th. Mars in the 9th house urges you to take risks, to go on adventures, to be bold and expressive. So it could be a powerful transit for planning trips, going on vacation, studying. If you're interested in studying astrology, Anastasia.astrology.com. Sign up for my natal course. It begins in September. Take your love for astrology to that next level. Studying, teaching, it's a really it kind of sparks your mind and brings a lot of new ideas. So it could be a fun transit to take action. Share your thoughts. If it's resonating, press that bullseye to show your support. My goal was 10 people supporting me this live, so help me meet my goal. And we will keep traveling to Capricorn rising next. Do we have any Capricorn risings in the chat? Anyone watching live? I am gonna be right back. I'm gonna get myself some more water. We've been live for 2 hours, 20 minutes. Just gonna take a quick break and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Thank you to those of you who are patient and waiting. And let me know if you are or anyone is a Capricorn rising as I get to Capricorn. If you are the lovely Capricorn rising, August brought changes to your financial sector as the solar eclipse and Leo season highlighted your 8th house. There could have been a new beginning that required a death of an ego. Let's say somebody offered, like your partner offered to pay off your student loans, and you're like, but no, I'm going to do it by myself. And they were like, well, I can help you. And so maybe you've embraced some kind of help that felt weird to you or required some kind of, change of perspective. There could have been also some opportunities for new relationships and new partnerships that this brought. Venus in Libra offered pleasant experiences professionally, support of women, people in power. We also had the very last lunar eclipse in Pisces in your 3rd house, which could have completed creative projects, suggested maybe even an ending of a 2-year-long chapter of your life that involved creating more freedom, creating more flexibility, opportunities to be creative, to be a business owner, some type of change in your everyday life, both mentally, but also literally, like physically, right? And then Mars was in Cancer most of the month, and Mars is in Cancer most of September. It's there until September 27th. So Mars in Cancer both encourages you to partner up and date. It can focus you and make you be more proactive, right? Like go sign up for a dating app. put yourself out there. If you're in a relationship, maybe it's giving you the courage needed to talk about complicated things. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so it's not the strongest Mars, and it can go too far in the direction of being passive aggressive, conflict avoidant, like, telling your friends in front of your partner that, oh, he didn't buy me flowers for 3 months, instead of being like, I'd love if you bought me some flowers, right? Like, there's always ways to be more direct, and there's ways to be very passive aggressive. So you kind of have to watch out for that, and trying to express frustration as it appears. The beginning of the month is especially irritating, I'm going to say, because Mars squares Saturn on September 1st. And Mars squares Saturn can represent friction in the relationship that's connected to family, yours or your partner, tensions involving living situation. Maybe you live in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 dogs, 1 cat, and a child and a partner, and it's just been too much. So there could be some butting heads and some irritability early in the month. And it's not the best transit to like push through and try to pretend like everything is fine. It would be best to take a step back and discuss things openly and honestly, and rethink, kind of think about what the problem is. Virgo season and the new moon in Virgo on September 10th shines light on your 9th house, which is a good transit for writers, because 9th house is the place of publishing. You're maybe presenting your ideas. It can also inspire, 9th house is also the place of travel and education and philosophy, religion. So and the sun generally loves the 9th house. The sun is in its joy in the 9th house. So it's this time of yearning for something bigger, for some kind of school of thought and belief system that this represents. And if astrology is something that you love, and you've been watching astrology videos for years, and you've been just devouring everything you can get your eyes on, come study with me. My natal astrology course begins on September 5th, and you will learn how to read charts. You will learn how to see yourself for who you are and live life that's more fulfilled and meaningful. We start very soon. Register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. So the sun here and the new moon here may encourage you to sign up for, go back to school or go to school. It can offer you opportunities to come up with a new writing idea, go on a trip, book a trip. You're longing for an adventure, and it could be a spiritual adventure. You can be meeting a religious community, a spiritual community that you're feeling supported by, but can also be new beginnings in education and travel and publishing, writing too. Venus is in Libra until September 10th. Mercury is there from the 10th until the 30th, and then the Libra season begins on September 22nd. You have there's a lot of focus on your public life. You are likely quite visible. Maybe you are speaking in front of bosses more. Venus is also entering your 11th house on September 10th, and she rules your 10th house of career. So there could be more like networking events, more creative meetings, more socializing that is represented by this. Mercury can also be symbolic of doing work that requires like blogging and sales and maybe podcasting. Like there may be a lot of opportunities like this that are represented by Mercury in the 10th. Venus in the 11th is a big deal because she's going to be in your 11th house on and off for probably like 6 months, maybe a little less, but she enters Scorpio on the 10th. She goes retrograde on October 3rd. She's going to leave Scorpio on October 25th, but then she's going to come back later in November and stay in Scorpio for another, like, well, maybe 4 months total. But if you consider that she's been in Libra and she's going to be retrograding through Scorpio and Libra, then it's maybe closer to like 6 months. But Venus here is good for friendships. It's good for social media. It's good for, putting your ideas out there, making your content more public, and expanding your reach, reaching new people, networking with people, asking people for help. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, and there may be some like trust issues, some obsessive tendencies, like fears that may be coming through, maybe a tendency to worry too much about your appearance that is preventing you from enjoying something fully. My candle of choice for the next couple of months is Venus in Libra, all the way until the end of the year, because of this Venus retrograde that's coming up and Venus being in her detriment. But it could be quite an inspiring transit. You just have to watch out for the dangers that Venus in her detriment can bring, and just sort of like the lack of trust and the readiness to be like betrayed or disappointed. And just maybe be aware that what you believe in sometimes creates the world around you. September 15th is the day to watch here, 3 days before, 3 days after, as Venus squares Pluto. This can intensify any conflicts, friction, obsessive tendencies, and increase the challenges. There is a full moon in Aries on September 26th, and it brings change, transformation, endings to your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. Look back at April, when we had a new moon in Aries. Chapter started back then might be coming full circle. You may be moving, completing a home improvement project, having a family member move in, having a family member move out, experiencing growth in a family, change in the family, and maybe opportunities also to set some boundaries and release some toxic dynamics that exist in the family. And if what I'm saying is resonating, press that bullseye, support me live today, and show that my work serves a good purpose and helps you. The last transit I'm going to mention for you guys is Mars entering Leo on September 27th. It's going to stay here until November 25th. Mars in your 8th house can give you courage to advocate for yourself, to maybe like negotiate any contracts and partnerships and agreements that are lucrative. It can also give you courage to speak up about what feels unfair. Mars in Leo is bold and loud and apologetic, right? So it's a good transit for setting the record straight. I'd say be careful here of like reckless financial decisions and deals that look really magical, but you got to read the fine print. You got to clarify everything, because something that glitters, not everything that glitters is gold, is my kernel of wisdom I'm going to leave you with here. Share your thoughts, press that bullseye to support me if my work is resonating, and register for my class, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul. We begin on September 5th, very, very soon. Don't wait too long or you'll miss it. And if you register today, you also get a free copy of the webinar I did with Rox, dedicated to Jupiter in the nodes, changing signs, and how it impacts the astrology of 2026, 2027. Do we have any Aquarius or Pisces risings with us? Just curious, who is still watching? If you are an Aquarius rising, August could have been really significant for your relationships. We had Leo season, we had the first solar eclipse in Leo, And that eclipse was all about endings and new beginnings. It was a South Node eclipse. So you may have gotten a chance to let go of the ego, release unhealthy, toxic relationship tendencies, maybe release unhealthy relationships and open space for new beginnings. Opportunities to transform relationships could have also been present. Venus was in Libra most of the month, and that is a positive. That transit could have inspired you to be more accepting, more diplomatic, more willing to harmonize and come to an agreement. We also had the final lunar eclipse in Pisces, which completed the 2-year-long chapter in your financial sector. You could have experienced a change professionally. Sometimes there is a sense of like one job that you've outgrown and you're ready to let that go and embrace something new. Changes in values, changes in priorities were potentially indicated here. And also some kind of opportunity to prioritize more flow and ease in your life instead of like work all the time. And Mars in Cancer, Mars spent most of August in Cancer, and it stays in Cancer in September as well until September 27th. Mars is in its joy in your 6th house, so it should provide you with energy to problem solve, exercise, eat healthier, take care of your duties. However, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so it's not the strongest Mars. And you may notice that your emotions sometimes contradict you problem solving and working. Like it's a little bit more emotionally driven Mars. Energetically, you may experience more ups and downs. There could be some like subtle family drama that you're dealing with that's also distracting you. September 1st, 5 days before, 5 days after is especially tricky as Mars is squaring Saturn in your 3rd house. I would say move very slowly and beware of accidents around this time. Beware of a tendency to push through difficulty because Saturn in the 3rd can be this like roadblock. You're going, and something happens. It's like you're driving a car and then the car breaks and you realize that somebody left a wrench in the in the engine. That's a real example of a family member dealing with an issue. So there could be some kind of, some kind of like hard stop that you cannot go past, that you need to really like stop at and think about and restructure, revisit, rebuild the schedule or reassess things. So that's the energy of the first 10 days of September, in my opinion. Virgo season is here and it's helping you problem solve. Virgo is very analytical, right? There are positive aspects between planets in Virgo and Mars in Cancer. So use your mind, use your analytical ability to discuss things. Mercury is also in Virgo until September 10th. And there's a new moon in Virgo on September 10th as well. So this is all about your debts and loans. There may be more focus on paying off any debts, renegotiating any agreements. You're more aware of what feels fair and what feels just versus what feels unfair and unjust. There may be new beginnings in relationships. Again, we just had a solar eclipse in your 7th house of romantic and business relationships, and the new moon in the 8th could be, well, we got engaged, let us create a prenup for this marriage, or we started a business together, let us negotiate a contract for this business. So the new moon in the Virgo season could be really a really good time to take care of any details that need to be taken care of. Libra season and Libra sector of your chart is active all month. Venus is here until the 10th, Mercury is here from the 10th until the 30th, and then Libra season begins on the 22nd of September. And there is a sense that you're dreaming of traveling or you're actually traveling. You are longing to go on an adventure, and you can be going on adventures by reading exciting books or learning a foreign language or dating, connecting with someone foreign, or you're actually booking a flight, taking that trip and going somewhere. Again, there's a little bit of friction between your aspirations, your vision, your sort of big picture, where you want to go, want to be, and the need to take care of problems and your schedule and maybe something that breaks, which is represented by Mercury opposing Neptune and Saturn, and then later the Sun making the same aspects. Venus in the 10th. Venus enters Scorpio on September 10th, urging you to take pleasure in the work that you do. Venus comes to the 10th house, and you don't want work that just pays bills. You don't want shallow. You don't want boring. You realize that you really want to do work that is passionate and creative and inspiring. And maybe you feel like it's time for you to study astrology because Anastasia is teaching her course. It begins in September. Come join me. It's true, though. Venus and Scorpio can very much encourage you to do work that is healing for others. And that is, wherever Scorpio in your chart is in your chart, you want to dig deep. You want to understand things. You want to penetrate the surface of the matter. So if you love astrology so much that you want to investigate yourself further and learn everything about yourself, come study. We begin on September 5th, Natal Astrology Blueprint of the Soul. Sign up at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Venus here can also help your relationships with people in power. It can inspire you to be more creative. If you're an artist, if you're a writer, it could be really helpful. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, though, so there is a higher risk of power struggles with people at work. There is maybe kind of a fear about exposing too much of yourself and being too vulnerable in the process. Especially September 15th is the day, 3 days before, 3 days after, to be mindful of as Venus squares Pluto. You may be dealing with power struggles with your own fears, obsessions, doubts, or a sense that somebody at work is blocking you and not allowing you to be true to yourself. Venus will be retrograde here starting October 3rd and then for about 6 weeks. So a lot of what you're doing professionally in September, if not everything, will need to be reviewed, revisited, and rethought. I highly recommend my Venus and Libra products for the next 2 months because Venus being retrograde and in the sign of her detriment can bring a lot of tumultuous experiences romantically and personally. You can find it at anastasiadoesastrology.com, same website where my course is at as well. So a couple more important transits to highlight. There is a full moon in Aries on September 26th in your 3rd house. It completes chapters started in April 2026 with a new moon in Aries and offers opportunities to declutter your mind and your schedule, letting go of something that is draining and exhausting and doesn't serve you anymore. There may be some opportunities to set better boundaries in your communication, even having your phone on you at all times, right? There might be something as simple as this doesn't serve me. I need to have better priorities, better boundaries. Changes to your schedule are also possible. Completion of a business, of a project that you've been working on, maybe an exam that you take, that's something you've been gearing up to get your driver's license, and in late September, you finally go for it. If that is resonating, by the way, and you wanted to show your support, press that bullseye, become one of my top supporters during this live. You can donate $5, $10, however much you can afford to show that my work is resonating with you. And the last transit of the month is Mars entering Leo on September 27th. And the last transit of the month I want to mention, let's correct that. Mars enters Leo on September 27th and stays here until November 25th. Mars in the 7th is a powerful transit for dating and for business, for negotiating. It is Mars that is courageous, confident, loud, bold, and you are very much, driven to partner up, to date, to express yourself, to negotiate business deals. It is, of course, more likely to lead you astray and lead to more conflicts and drama in relationships. So that is something to keep in mind as the South Node in Leo continuously reminds you to let go of the ego and focus on more peace and sort of make better choices, let's say. Share your thoughts. Visit anastasiadoesastrology.com and book that reading or register for my class. How about Pisces risings? Any Pisces risings? If you are a Pisces rising, August brought a lot of attention to your house of work, health, and service. Leo season highlighted your professional life, right? Maybe made you question what kind of work makes you happy. There could have been a lot of focus on your health and well-being. The solar eclipse on the 12th of August maybe encouraged you to release something, some bad habits, release your need to be perfect to everyone and to do work that is adored by everyone. There could have been a serious shift of priorities, right? Like realization that really who you owe things first and foremost is to yourself. Venus in Libra highlighted your 8th house, bringing gifts from other people, helping, like bringing gifts through your partnerships. There could have been some opportunities for partnering up with other people, coming up with like creating things. When Venus is in your 8th house, you tend to create better products, better art products, or better, get better results when you're working with someone instead of going at it on your own. And could have been like a good time for like negotiating, signing agreements and things along those lines. The final eclipse in Pisces on August 28th completed the chapter of personal growth that lasted 2 years long and encouraged you again to focus on you and to choose yourself and to make changes, set boundaries, clarify priorities that make you the better version of yourself. Because when you are happy, you radiate that energy, your relationships improve. It's just you've been in this period of like, tending to your health, tending to your body, tending to your needs for quite some time, dear Pisces risings. So Mars also spent most of the month in your 5th house, maybe stimulating you to be more creative, encouraging you to date, encouraging you to seek more like intimacy. Maybe you had more energy to hang out with children, or you've been focused on children and parenthood. And that continues. Mars is here until September 27th. So you still have this like creative impulse. You are maybe more inspired, right? Like maybe you really want to like go out and date, and you're like, you're seeking intimacy, let's say. Mars here is quite good for like sort of sexual exploration. And Mars is, though, in its fall in Cancer. So there is a challenge with Mars in Cancer of being passive aggressive, being conflict avoidant, allowing frustration build and then exploding in like a dramatic fashion. It can also bring uneven energy levels. So watch out for like pushing yourself too hard, especially early in the month. September 1st, 5 days before, 5 days after, Mars is squaring Saturn, creating friction between your 5th house of romance, pleasure, and fun, and your 2nd house of money and values. So the most obvious way this can manifest is you have to postpone fun. You have to be practical. You have to be pragmatic. You have to say, no, we cannot do this because we do not have enough money to do this, right? And it doesn't have to be a complete no. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you want to go on a trip to Bahamas and you can never go. It just has to be like, not right now. Let's hold off a little bit. Let's take a beat. But there could also be conflicts around money coming up, tensions around priorities, disagreements about raising children, disagreements in love, maybe even some kind of like obstacle to like satisfaction in the bedroom, let's say. Some kind of like, not right now, not yet. Maybe you're dating someone, right? And you're like, we've been on 5 dates. I'm ready to take this further. And the person you're dating is like, nope, I don't feel like it yet. My rule is 20 dates, or some kind of, some kind of obstacle that comes up connected to that. So just something to keep in mind. Virgo season is activating your relationship house. So again, focus on dating, partnering up, collaborating, negotiating conflicts, negotiating agreements. There is a new moon in Virgo on September 10th, which could be new beginnings romantically if you're single, maybe starting to date someone. If you're in a relationship, committing, making relationship official, moving in together. Speaking of which, Uranus begins its retrograde this month and moves backwards through your 4th house. So there may be some changes to the living situation and even some opportunities to like retrace your steps in terms of the living situation. But yeah, the new moon on the 10th in Virgo is about new beginnings in your relationship sector. Doesn't have to be romantic, could be business, could be a new contract that you are signing, could be a mortgage negotiation. Like that would be more 8th house, but definitely could suggest that there is like a little bit of contract negotiating that's going on around this time. Your 8th house is quite busy with Venus here until September 10th, Mercury from the 10th until the 30th, and Libra season begins on September 22nd. By the way, press that bullseye to say thank you if my words are resonating, if you find them helpful, and if you want to show your appreciation and support. And register for my natal astrology class. We begin in September 5th. So soon. It's an intimate group. You get direct attention from me. We look at your chart multiple times and you learn how to read charts. You learn how to move from just understanding the basics to going so much deeper. And I think it has tremendous potential to improve your self-understanding and bring more self-love. So come study with us. So Libra season activates your 8th house. You're paying off debts. You are still very much like negotiating and maybe getting loans, paying a mortgage off. There's a lot of focus on like financial agreements, and both through the lens of letting go of things that don't serve you, like debts or burdens or some kind of challenges, and through the lens of embracing new partnerships, new relationships, or embracing more abundance in relationships. Venus enters Scorpio on September 10th. Will be here until October 25th. And we'll go retrograde between October 3rd and November 13th. So we'll spend a lot of time talking about the retrogradation of Venus. But in September, she's direct. She's in your 9th house. And you're maybe planning trips. You're maybe learning a different language. Venus in the 9th creates a lot of pleasure from interacting with foreign people, from going on adventures, from learning things. You're sort of feeling like interested in exploring and opening your mind to new perspectives. Because she is in her detriment, there is some challenges to watch for, especially if it comes to like dating new people, if you're starting to date a foreign person. Venus and Scorpio can deal with trust issues. She can be a little bit too self-protective, too, worried and fearful about opening up. So that's something to keep in mind. But I do quite like this for opening your mind and expanding your perspective. And like, if you're a writer, if you're a creative person, Venus in the ninth can be a source of inspiration. It can suggest that like going to a museum or watching a foreign movie, or connecting to a foreign person can be a big source of inspiration for you. And then as she goes retrograde, there's a whole new opportunity to rethink what you've learned, and maybe even rethink how that affects your financial life somehow. Okay, couple more things. There is a new moon, not a new moon, there's a full moon in Aries on September 26th in your second house of money and values. So we're continuing the theme of money values, right? Look back at what got started in your life in April when we had a new moon in Aries. The full moon completes that chapter, and maybe you've been waiting for a payment and now you get that payment. Maybe you've started a job and now you feel at ease and feel more accomplished at the job. Maybe you started the job and you hate the job, and the new moon and the full moon comes in and you're like, I'm over it. I'm going to quit this job now. There can also be a sense of like priorities shifting and having to get really clear on what's important to you, especially maybe if there are like some relationship developments, and if you're writing with a creative partner, or you're planning a trip, or you are about to have a baby or something. There's maybe a need to take a step back and clarify your priorities and clarify your finances as well. Make some changes needed to have like more stability in life. And finally, Mars is entering Leo on September 27th, where the planet of action will stay until November 25th. Mars rejoices in the sixth house, so this will be the time you feel more energetic. You feel driven to there's definitely more opportunities, and more like maybe you're exercising more, you're eating better, you're applying for more jobs. It kind of gives you the energy you need to hustle here. But again, you gotta watch out that you don't let your ego run everything, because the south node is in Leo. Don't get don't get yourself too like busy. Make sure that I still need water. Make sure that you're allowing some space for rest as well. As should I. Go rest my voice right now. It's been 3 hours that I've been live, you guys. It's been a marathon a little bit here. If you haven't supported me today and you want to do so, please press that bullseye, show your appreciation by becoming a top live supporter today. If you love astrology and you keep listening to the videos and you can't get enough, take that leap, sign up for my natal course. We begin on September 5th. You can register at anastasiadoesastrology.com. And if you do so today, you also get a free recording of the webinar dedicated to Jupiter in the nodes, changing signs, and how that would affect astrology of 2026 and 2027. It has horoscopes for all 12 signs. Rox and I did this webinar together a few months ago, and it's a lot of fun. You can also check out my website, check out any of the products. My recommendations for September are Mars in Scorpio and Venus in Libra, because Venus is about to go retrograde and Mars is in the sign of its fall throughout the month of September. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and I hope you are enjoying my work. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and press that like, leave a comment, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.